This is Megan Massacre, tattoo artist and co-owner at Grit and Glory Tattoo and Clothing Boutique in NYC, and I want you to put your horns up.
We're inside Grit and Glory in New York City with Megan Massacre. And, first and foremost, I want to thank you for what you do, not only for tattoo culture, but women in general, because I think it's very important to have, great examples for, I have a little daughter, and I want to have cool role models. She just turned 14.
Oh, does she like tattoos?
Well, she likes tattoos on other people so far.
Okay, but has she asked you if she can get one yet?
Not yet. You think that's going to happen soon?
Well, yeah, probably by like 16. I feel like that's when, kids will start to be like, oh, yeah, I can get one. Dad, will you sign for me? But if you want, when she turns 18, bring her to me. I'll take good care of her. How about that?
Deal. Now, how old were you when you got your first tattoo?
I was 18 years old. I wanted tattoos a few years earlier than that, but my parents were like, no, you have to wait till you're 18. And even then, they didn't want me to get them, but hey, they couldn't stop me. So I got a lot right when I turned 18. And I have to be honest with you, I really didn't even know what a good tattoo was yet. So I got a lot of really, really bad tattoos. Yeah. And I'm actually in the process of covering up and redoing most of them now. I've probably gotten about 5 removed by laser so far. And this whole sleeve right here was some of my first tattoos. And the most recent one, I just got this one done like 2 weeks ago. My friend Tim Kern, who tattoos over in the Lower East Side at Tribulation, he's been redoing all these tattoos for me. Thank you, Tim. And making them look a lot better. So, yeah, it's hard. When you're young and you're just amped to get tattooed, a lot of times you just want a tattoo. You're not thinking about, what makes a good tattoo. And, you just want one, and that's the worst decision.
And what was your first tattoo?
It was on my leg, and it's kind of a funny story because my boss, he walked into the shop one day and he was like, all the customers are too scared to get tattooed by you. I had already been tattooing for about 6 months, and I was 18, but I probably looked more like 14 because I was quite the tomboy at the time. And he was like, you're getting a tattoo today so that you look like, you're a tattoo person so people are comfortable. So it's like, oh, fine, And I wanted tattoos, but, your first one is always the hardest one to pick out. It's pretty difficult. Usually you want to, what I tell people is try to stick with something like timeless and meaningful, but when I was 18, I didn't know that. So I just started flipping through tattoo magazines and Tattoo Flash, looking for anything that I thought would, stick out to me. And of course, I came across this drawing in the back of a tattoo magazine, and it was an anime-styled girl, because I was really into anime and video games at this time in my life. And she is a girl, but she's also a cheetah, and she has super colorful hair, and she's just got a real crazy outfit on, it's a real crazy tattoo. And I was like, yes, this is what I want. I want it this big, and I want it on my whole leg. And my boss was like, all right, let's do it. And he outlined it that night, and that was it. He just outlined it, and then he was like, all right, I'm bored, I'm over it. And I was like, oh, okay, so now I just have this outline. And I went home, and I walked in the door in shorts, and my mom looked at it, and she was like, what are you thinking? What are you going to do when you're wearing a dress? I was like, I'm going to wear a dress, I don't know, and she just flipped out. And from that point on, I actually had to get all my tattoos in spots that she couldn't see for about a year because she would freak out on me. And rightfully so. I was making pretty rash, bad decisions. Had they been a little bit nicer, I think she still would have freaked out, but maybe a little less. But what's funny also about that tattoo is I actually had to finish it myself because the guy that started it wouldn't finish it. He was like, I don't feel like it. So as I'm learning, I'm sitting here learning on myself as well, putting my leg up on an armrest and trying to reach it to color it in and finish it, which is great for practice, but it does not look so great. So there's that.
And what does your family think nowadays that you're not only making a living, but as I said before, being an inspirational figure to other tattoo artists?
My family is super, super proud of me now. It took some of them a really long time to get there. When I first started tattooing, I was pretty young, and also at the time, tattooing was way different then. This is only 11 years ago, but in 11 years, tattooing has changed over, that time so drastically. It's gone from being this thing that, had this stigma of only bikers and gang members and, just these underground seedy environments, those were the kind of people that were getting tattooed. And that's not how I looked at it. I looked at it as an art form, but this was only when certain people started kind of looking at it that way. Also, there was no girl tattooers. There was barely any. I didn't know any when I started. And it wasn't until about 2 years after I started tattooing that you started seeing tattoos on TV. That's when tattoo TV shows came out. And that really drastically changed the world of tattooing. not just for us, we got a lot more business after that, but also the way that others viewed us. People that would have never ever thought of getting a tattoo now were walking in tattoo shops, and so it was a different kind of clientele too. It was like normal people. It was like housewives and lawyers and doctors and like people that were standing upright citizens. So it really, really changed the game. And then you see a lot of celebrities getting tattooed, a lot of pro athletes getting tattooed, a lot of very friendly, people that people like. So yeah, it got really mainstream really fast.
Now you own your own shop here in Manhattan, nonetheless.
I do. Yes, I do. And my parents are pretty proud of that too. And I'm really, really stoked to have my own place finally. It's something that I actually never really set out to do. When I started tattooing, I wasn't like, yeah, I'm going to tattoo for a while, then I'm going to open up my own shop one day. I never really thought that because I kind of liked being part of the collective of tattoo artists at shops that I worked at. I was like, okay, in my mind, I was like, maybe there needs to be less shops and more, big shops full of artists, because a lot of times, shops will have like one really good artist and then everybody else kind of just like follows their lead, but it's good to have a lot of great artists in one place so that everybody can kind of inspire one another, make each other better. And then, I don't know, about a year ago, I was just hanging out here with the girls, Emily and Veronica, who own the store. And, we'd been friends for about 2 or 3 years at this point. We became friends about a year after I moved to New York, and that was like right about a year after they opened the store. And, of course, I did all my shopping here, and I was hanging out here all the time, and we just got to talking, and we were like, how cool would it be if, I said, how cool would it be if I could just tattoo here and we could have a clothing store with it, because we talked about making clothing, and, it would be kind of like a cool girl spot, because there's a lot of tattoo shops, and there are a pretty good amount of girl tattooers in New York, but still there's like 1 girl tattooer, 2 girl tattooers, and then 5 or 6 guys, and it's still kind of part of the boys club, don't get me wrong. Guy tattooers, you're all my friends, I love you, but, we don't always get to hang out with the guys sometimes. All the guys like to go out and, relate on different levels, and I found myself kind of gravitating towards hanging out with the girls more because we had more, to relate on. And I realized there is no girls club yet for tattooing, and then I was like, you know what, why don't I make that? If it's not there and you want it, the only way you're going to get it is if you make the environment and invite it. And, not forcefully so. I wasn't like, yes, I'm going to make an all-girl shop with clothing, and that's what I'm going to do. It really happened organically and naturally. Me and the girls talked about it for a whole year before we actually even did it, and finally one day I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it. And the one day we were like, all right, next week let's remodel. And we literally ripped this place like apart, just, the 3 of us, the 3 girls and a couple of our friends, and like literally like tearing down walls and like stripping the floor and painting. We just like really did it over 2 weeks, which is pretty fast. And then it was like, boom, I have a little tattoo shop. And I was like, all right. And I was still tattooing over at Wooster Street, which is the shop that I worked at in New York for the past 4 years and did the show New York Ink on. And they're really good friends of mine. And I do some days here and there still because they're in the process of transitioning to a new space, and I was like, well, I want to help them out too. They've done a lot for me, so, I still want to be a part of them, but, I also want to kind of do my own thing too. So, so I've just been spending more and more time here and, tattooing, and I got a couple other people tattooing with me now. Miss Callie Jo is over there tattooing right now, and she's super talented and super cool, and just kind of, again, organically just meshed with the group. It's not like I seeked out there and I was like, all right, how many girl tattooers can I get to work here? At first it was just me. And then, Callie came and was like, yeah, I think I'd like to work with you. And I was like, I'd love that. Like, let's do it. We're friends. Callie's listening to me right now. And then same thing, I have a couple other girlfriends. My one friend, Gia Rose, she's a tattooer in Philly. She's going to start doing resident guest spots. And I think if it works out well, she's going to be sticking around. And man, I think we have about 5 girls coming next month to guest spot. So I'm a little overwhelmed by that. But again, they were all my personal friends, and they all reached out and said, hey, we'd love to be a part of this. And it's just kind of growing exponentially from there. And I think that it's super cool when I was able to just like kind of make this place that I enjoyed being, and other people just kind of liked it and want to be a part of it too. It feels super, super good.
And speaking of your gang, what were some of the lessons you learned from Ami, being obviously such a huge figure in the tattoo industry, and also having the cameras in front of you when you're doing? What were some of the things that you learned from doing the show?
Things I learned from Ami. Ami taught me a lot about traditional tattooing, which is pretty interesting. I think most tattoo artists go through, an apprenticeship, which I had one, but mine was kind of ass backwards, I didn't exactly have all the most positive influences in my tattooing life in the beginning. And I kind of just had to roll with the punches, and I worked at a lot of different shops and had a lot of bad experiences and had to kind of keep leaving from shop to shop, slowly picking up things as I went on, but it took me a while to kind of find a place that I really felt like I could learn and grow. And most apprenticeships, you learn traditional tattooing first, the simplicity of, just doing bold straight lines, and, there's kind of certain rules to drawing certain flowers and snakes and daggers and things you see a lot in traditional tattooing and coloring. And I kind of missed that part of my apprenticeship, and working with Ami, he actually really took the time to sit down and help me kind of learn some of those aspects that I missed, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And it changed the look of my tattooing forever. I can say that I'm a better tattoo artist now than I've ever been, and I think that he truly contributed to that. So thank you, Ami. But from the show itself, I learned a whole different set of things. Patience, for one. I was always very patient, but my patience, level went extremely up when doing the show. And it's because it's a lot of hard work, Shooting a season of New York Ink was pretty grueling. We would shoot for 3 months straight, and we would shoot 5 days a week, but we'd probably get there at about 7 a.m., and we were supposed to leave by 8 p.m., but usually by 10 p.m. or midnight, So it was a lot of all day kind of, work, and it wasn't just about the tattooing. I mean, we would tattoo a lot, and when you're tattooing, you have the cameras over you, so you kind of sweat at first. You're like, any little mistake, everybody's going to see it, and the lights are shining on you, and you're, like, sweating, and then, people are trying to talk while they get tattooed. You have to start and stop and start and stop, and then your customer's in pain, and they're under a lot of pressure because, hey, they're not used to getting, shot for TV either, so the whole thing is pretty stressful. But I'll say that after the first season of shooting the show, it became a lot more fun. Like, when you kind of go through the process and you kind of, like, just learn, like, I had no idea what I was in for. I got into it. I was like, all right, this is crazy. I got really stressed out. And then by season 2, it wasn't nearly as stressful because I was used to it. And it was actually fun. I actually love making TV, so I hope to do some more in the future. But, yeah, I learned patience, and I don't know. I learned to be more self-aware. Too. You have to pay attention to what you're saying and what you're doing sometimes, and sometimes I would kind of just like let shit fly.
Every time we try to carry on.